Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ma'am, my name is Maulidina Salsabila from Sastra Inggris. In this video, I would like to explain the three topics that I choose from this semester. The first topic is fragments and run-on sentences, which is the topic I understand the most. The second topic is summarizing a report, which is the topic that I still do not fully understand. And the third topic is also summarizing a report, but this time I will explain why I want to learn this topic more deeply, especially because it is an important skill for IELTS academic writing. So let's get started. The first topic I chose is fragments and run-on sentences. This is the topic that I understand the most because after learning and practicing it several times in class, I become more familiar with sentence structure. First, I would like to explain what a fragment is. A fragment is an incomplete sentence because it does not express a complete idea. Usually, it is missing a subject, a verb, or a main clause. Since it does not contain a complete thought, it cannot stand alone as a sentence. On the other hand, a run-on sentence happens when two or more independent clauses are joined together incorrectly without proper punctuation or conjunctions. As a result, the sentence becomes confusing and difficult to read. To write a complete sentence, we need a subject, a verb, and a complete idea. If we have a fragment, we need to add the missing information or the main clause. If we have a run-on sentence, we can correct it by using period, a semicolon, or a comma, followed by a coordinating conjunctions such as and, but, or, so, yet, for, or nor. Now, let me give you my own examples. The first examples is a fragment because I forgot to change my laptop. This example is incomplete because it only gives a reason. It contains a dependent clause, but it does not have a main clause or an independent clause. Therefore, it cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. To make it correct, I can say, because I forgot to change my laptop. I borrowed my friend's laptop during class. Now, the sentence is complete because it has both a dependent clause and an independent clause. Next, here is an example of a run-on sentence. I studied all night. I felt very sleepy in class the next morning. This sentence is incorrect because it joins two independent clauses without any punctuation or conjunction. A correct version is I studied all night, so I felt very sleepy in class the next morning. Or we can also write I studied all night, I felt very sleepy in class the next morning. Both sentences are grammatically correct because the ideas are connected properly. I choose this topic as the one I understand the most because I have practiced identifying fragments and run-on sentences many times during this semester. At first, I sometimes wrote long sentences without realizing that they were run-on sentences. I also forgot to check whether every sentence had a complete thought. However, after doing more exercises and receiving feedback from the lecturer, I became more aware of sentence structure. Now, before I finish my writing, I usually check whether every sentence has a subject, a verb, and a complete idea. I also pay attention to punctuation and conjunctions. Because of that, I feel much more confident when writing English sentences than I did at the beginning of the semester. Now, I would like to explain my second topic, which is summarizing a report. This is the topic that I still do not fully understand. A report summary is a shorter version of a report that presents only the main ideas while keeping the original meaning. The purpose of summarizing is to make the information easier to understand without including every detail. When writing a report summary, there are several important steps. First, we should read the report carefully to understand the information. Second, we need to identify the main ideas or the overall trend. Third, we decide which information is important and which details can be omitted. Finally, We rewrite the important information using our own words in a shorter and clearer way. Now, I would like to give my own example. I was imagine there is a report about the number of students borrowing books from the university library between 2022 and 2025. The report says in 2022, around 500 students borrowed books from the university library. The number increased to 650 students in 2023. In 2024, it continued to rise and reach 800 students. However, in 2025, the number decreased slightly to 750 students. Before writing the summary, I first identified the overall trend instead of copying every piece of information. The main idea is that the number of students borrowing books generally increased over the 4-year period, although there was a slight decrease in the final year. The exact numbers for each year are supporting details. They are useful in the original report, but they do not all need to appear in the summary. After identifying the main idea, I rewrite it using my own words. The summary could be overall, the number of students borrowing books from the university library increased between 2022 and 2025, despite a slight decline in the final year. This summary is much shorter than the original report, but it still presents the main idea accurately. The reason I still do not fully understand this topic is because I sometimes find it difficult to decide which information should be included and which information should be omitted. Sometimes I also worry that my summary is too similar to the original report. I know that a good summary should use my own words, but paraphrasing is still challenging for me. In addition, when a report contains many numbers, charts, or graphs, I sometimes focus too much on the details instead of identifying the overall trend first. Because of these reasons, I believe that I still need more practice in summarizing reports effectively. Finally, the third topic I choose is summarizing a report again because this is the topic that I would like to learn more deeply. As I explained before, summarizing a report is the process of identifying the main ideas and rewriting them in a shorter form while keeping the original meaning. Although I already understand the basic concept, I believe I still need to improve my skills. The main reason I want to learn this topic more deeply is because summarizing reports is an important skill in IELTS academic writing text 1. In the IELTS test, candidates are expected to describe and summarize information from charts, graphs, or tables. They need to identify the overall trend, compare the important information, and write a clear overview instead of explaining every single detail. I think this is quite challenging because it requires not only good grammar but also strong analytical and paraphrasing skills. Sometimes I still focus too much on the numbers instead of the overall trend, so I want to practice identifying the most important information more effectively. Besides that, I also want to improve my academic writing. As an English literature student, I often read reports and journal articles. Being able to summarize information clearly and accurately will help me understand academic text better and present information in a more organized way. Another reason is that I want to expand my vocabulary for describing data and trends. For example, I want to become more familiar with words such as increase, decrease, fluctuated, remain stable, peak, decline, and gradually. I believe using a wider range of vocabulary will make my writing more natural and more effective. For these reasons, I believe that learning this topic more deeply will not only help me prepare for the IELTS test, but also improve my writing skills for my future studies and career. To conclude, I chose three topics for this assignment. The first topic was fragments and run-on sentences because it is the topic that I understand the most after practicing it throughout this semester. The second topic was summarizing a report because I still find it challenging, especially when deciding which information should be included. in a summary and how to paraphrase the original text effectively. Finally, I choose summarizing a report again as the topic that I want to learn more deeply because I believe it is an essential skill for IELTS academic writing and for improving my academic writing in general. Overall, this course has helped me understand English grammar and writing better. Although there are still some topics that I need to practice, I feel that my knowledge and confidence have improved compared to the beginning of the semester. Thank you very much for watching my presentation, ma'am. I hope my explanation was clear and easy to understand. Have a nice day, ma'am.